I wonder what happened there. Good evening, everybody. It's Rich here. Welcome to Talking Cricket. We are back for another episode. Obviously, you see on the screen there, Andrew Simons. We will start the show this evening by talking about Roy, as he was affectionately known. Welcome to Brendon. He's in Croatia. Unfortunately, missing another show, but don't worry, Brendon. Ian is here to play vice captain this evening. If you are on Twitter, we do have a Twitter page at One Talking Cricket. Please give us a follow, get involved. Anyone watching who wants to get involved in the shows, just drop us a DM or message me on Facebook or Twitter. We'd love to have you involved. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, watching live or watching back, please do give us a like. Also, subscribe as well on the Home Dressing Room, and loads of stuff on there. You don't have to be an Ipswich Town fan. You can be a football fan, a cricket fan. We do darts, boxing. We do it all there. But anyway, let's get on with the show tonight. Welcome in to Ian and Neil. And I think Rob is coming. He's here already. Oh, there he is. I see some beautiful photos of you, Rob, yesterday. On Facebook. Yeah, some lovely, getting that elbow high. How many did you score? I'd say you were 20 odd not out at one stage.
38.
Yeah, not bad. Did you win?
Set a platform, mate. We kicked on, got 249 and defended it. Good game.
So, because you lost the last couple of games, haven't you? I see you won the opener, didn't you? So,
we the week before we lost the toss, lost the game. And the week before that we got 2-3-2 and they got it for 9. So competitive. Doing all right though.
What about Ian? What about Ian? I know Ian's struggling to walk. We'll come to Neil. How's your cricket going?
It's all right. We've won 2, lost 2. I umpired the first game of the season, so the umpires panel secretary was on the phone seeing if I'd sign up. I've got a few health issues at the moment. Won't bore you with those, but we've had 2 wins this weekend, 1 in the league and today in the cup. So it's going all right. It's going better than it usually does.
We'll come to Neil. We won't talk anything about football.
Thanks. How you doing? Appreciate that. Yeah, no, all good. Our cricket is going remarkably well. I've moved up to captain the first after a drop in commitment from some players after last season, and we're 4 wins from 4 so far, and so are the second team, and the thirds are 3 wins from 4. So our club is going from strength to strength at the moment. So
did I see that you were live streaming some games?
Yeah, we had our first live stream yesterday after very kindly getting a sponsor to sponsor our equipment. So getting into the digital era.
What about down at Haverhill, Rob? You doing any live streaming anytime soon?
I'm not necessarily this year, mate. Maybe.
I like watching. So there's quite a few on YouTube now, Neil, who've got into that, and decent. Right, so we'll start. Obviously, we all woke up this morning with the terrible news about Andrew Simons. Obviously, we spoke about Rob Marsh on here, Shane Warne at 46. You know, Andrew Simons. We all know what happened. Car crash in Queensland. I've got a few of his stats here. You know, did you all know that he'd scored 40 first-class hundreds? You know, he wasn't just a one-day biffer. You know, I think that was probably his strong point because look, 2 World Cups he was involved in that he won, 198 one-day internationals, over 5,000 runs, 133 wickets. Great fielder. You know, unfortunately, he could have played for England, wasn't he? He was born in Birmingham. But he was adopted, went to Australia when he was 3 months old. But my first take on him, guys, was when I used to get Wisden when I was younger. And they always used to have in there, didn't they? Like who was leading the 6 hitting category. And he was always up there. And it was interesting because a couple of weeks ago, I think it was last week, when Ben Stokes beat the record, didn't he? 17 sixes in an innings. It was his record that he took. He got 16 against Glamorgan in 1995. So just share your thoughts of Andrew Simons. We'll start with you, Neil.
I mean, for me, it was Andrew Simons was always almost the archetypal Aussie cricketer, in such that played the game hard, but had a laugh doing it. Was super confident of his own ability and trusted his own ability in such that clearly, as you said, he trusted himself to go out and hit sixes for fun, but obviously also could bowl much better than people ever gave him credit for, and was an absolute gun fielder as well. So as an all-round cricketer, unbelievable. And it all sort of summed it up in a clip I saw today of a match versus Sri Lanka where he hit it back at Clark, I think it was, and it hit him on the pads, ballooned in the air, and was caught off the pad. And the umpire's like, "Oh, that's out." And as he's walking off, he turns around to Clark and gives it, "You owe me a pint," after the game. And it's like, you know, in the heat of the moment, he could have been so pissed off about that. Yeah, he's seeing the funny side. Oh, hey ho, here's what it is, and get me a beer type of thing. And I think it all just gets brought home, as you say. 46 is a nothing age, and if somebody gets seriously ill, very rare we can avoid things like that. A road accident, it just always feels like taken too soon. An accident like that almost seems to hit harder, like with Ben Hollyoake as well.
Yeah,
I mean, I know he was a lot younger, don't get me wrong, but it just seems to hit harder if it's something that almost is more avoidable in a way. So yeah, terrible loss again on top of the other two as well, so soon.
What about yourself, Ian? Because obviously he had a spell at Lancashire, didn't he?
He did. He's enormously popular, and as Neil says, he was good value off the park as well. And I think that's why he, a bit of a box office player, exciting, positive cricketer. But I think he sort of chimed well with the fans, because they like that kind of thing. Played his cricket, he had a beer afterwards. Obviously, that's going to be pretty popular. I think his image as well, was important. I've been doing some work on diversity with Lancashire, so it's absolutely, his sort of image of the locks and that kind of thing, was really important to be out there, especially in Australian cricket, but certainly in world cricket. I think that was a really sort of positive image. He did have his problems away from cricket, as a lot do. Some of which is publicised, some which isn't. But as Neil said, tragedy at that age. So it's a real shame. But what a super player, very popular at Lancashire, very well regarded even now. I know I saw some stuff that Warren Hegg was putting on social media. As I say, fondly remembered his time at Old Trafford.
What about yourself, Rob? What's your memories of Andrew Symonds?
Yeah, I mean, the T20 was sort of made for him, wasn't it? It just came along when he was sort of mid-20s. He came from that great Australian era, didn't he, in the 90s, 2000s, where they just dominated us, didn't they? I read something earlier. He sort of kept, I think, how many tests he played? He kept Shane Watson at that side for a very long time.
26 he played.
Yeah. His strike rate in one-day cricket, it was up in the 90s compared to the sort of everyone else in the 70s. But my best memory is probably that massive rugby tackle he put in on a fan once who tried to run on the ground.
Was that the naked one?
Yeah, absolutely smashed him. Should have been playing for the Wallabies.
Well, because he was a big rugby league. He'd actually trained sort of in the off season. I was watching some stuff on YouTube from Australian sort of their news channels, and yeah, I think if you're running on the field, if you're a pitch invader and Andrew Symonds is anywhere in the vicinity, I think you probably need your head reading, Rob.
That's right. Yeah, like you said, mate, gone too soon. Just one of the good guys, wasn't he? He played with a smile on his face, and yeah, another one I'm afraid for Australia, isn't it? They've had a shocking 6 months, haven't they?
Yeah, you probably look here at 26 tests. If he'd have probably picked England, Neil, he probably he'd have easily doubled that, wouldn't he? Quite easily.
Someone's put in the chat, he would have absolutely walked into that England test team at that time. And from probably for any of his three abilities. It goes without saying he would have been head and shoulders above some of the players in that team. But again, you sort of then think, would he have got in based on, you know, his mindset and his attitude? They'd probably have found something wrong, some reason not to pick him, knowing England at that time. But yeah, just 100% he would have added that razzmatazz and that X factor to the team. And yeah, as I say, it's absolute tragedy.
Yeah, you just want to send thoughts to obviously his wife. He's got 2 young kids, and it's just so sad. Like you say, if you get ill, it's one of them things. But like it's a road accident, and it's so sad. But anyway, thoughts to his family, and look, moving on. Thursday, bit of a left field selection, we could say, from Rob Key. Brendon McCullum has been appointed England Test coach. So he was, I think he was in the running for the one-day white ball team, wasn't he? And I think they'd interviewed him. He's basically said that didn't get him going. You know, I think he wants a challenge. He's certainly going to get it. I think with a Test side, with a record we've had over the last sort of 18 months. But I'm really excited. I'm really excited. It could go one of 2 ways. Look, he's not had no first-class cricket coaching. He's obviously been in the IPL. What's your thoughts?
Well, 3 years experience as a coach, but what you can't take away from him is his fantastic record in all formats of the game. I think you're absolutely right when you were saying about the white ball England job. The white ball stuff takes care of itself, really, I think, and I'm not too sure there'd be a great deal of challenge there. I think when you get to this level, I think the actual amount of coaching experience, I'm not saying it's unimportant, but it's less important. I think what he can give to the players, the kind of cricket that he played, exciting cricket, daring declarations, and all of this kind of thing, and the way that he played his cricket with Ben Stokes as captain, of course, you know, it could be fireworks. But he's a knowledgeable guy. He knows about the game. It was, I must admit, it surprised me that selection. But every credit to him for focusing on the red ball, the Test cricket, which is where we need to improve, because he could quite easily have gone into the white ball and just carried on that already sort of gathered momentum. So yeah, I know the only way is up, and certainly you know, he'll have some knowledge on the New Zealand team, as we're playing them, aren't we? So it's a very interesting selection. That's what I'm going to say. Interesting.
Yeah, I think, Rob, he'll immediately, I've got wrote down here, he'll immediately command the respect. It's a breath of fresh air, and I think it's bold, and I think it's a really brave appointment from Rob Key.
Yeah, it is. It's moved away from like the old boys club, hasn't it? A little bit, you know. If you look at who's done it recently, it has been a bit of a job for the boys and a bit underwhelming. It is a big left field pick. I think what he'll bring is dynamism and a bit of soul. I think we've already touched on that. I think we'll lose games. I think we'll win games as well. Yeah, breath of fresh air. You know, somebody new. He hasn't got loads of experience, but he's just a bit of a winner. And even if we don't win, hopefully we'll play in the right way, and hopefully we'll play with the heart on the sleeve and sort of get stuck in and try stuff, you know, like declarations or whatever, or you know, him and Stokes, I think, will bounce off each other really well, and that's really important. Hopefully they'll pick the best team, the right team, the best team, and well, it's never really a problem in this country to get the crowds in because we all love it, don't we? But hopefully we'll get bums on seats and get them out the bars and get them watching as much as possible. But yeah, really looking forward to it. Good positive appointment for me.
If you got Craig from Portsmouth's comment there, McCullum was a very big part of New Zealand's rise up the Test rankings. They became a real tight unit during his time, and he started off their sort of revolution, didn't he, Neil? You know, they were struggling. I think his first game as captain, they were bowled out from, I think it was about 40, 50. They were bowled out. So I think it's a really good appointment. No one knows really what way it's going to go, but like you just said there, Ian, I don't know what you think, Neil. We can't go any lower. We're at the bottom of the barrel. We are at the bottom of the barrel, and the only way is up.
And I think that's probably dictated the appointment a little bit because, you know, the best form of defence is attack. Is that the right thing to say at this point? You know, we might as well go on a counter-attacking style of coach, somebody who wants to play attacking cricket. Funnily enough, Rob Key was playing cricket at a local club of ours today. I don't know if many people were trying to quiz him on the appointment or not, but there was a charity match going on. Freddie Flintoff was hosting, and it was the talk of down there as well. And let's face it, we never predicted it when we were giving our predictions of the next coach. I don't think anybody said Brendon McCullum, but ultimately it's going to be a situation whereby in the past England based their white ball game on the way that McCullum was getting New Zealand playing and wanted to use that as a platform for Owen Morgan to take the team forward. So I'm completely in agreement with what everybody said. I am quite excited about it. I do agree it can go one of two ways, but I would much rather see us going out playing exciting or trying to play exciting cricket and have a couple of failures off the back of that than just repeating the same old mistakes. And I think ultimately that's all we all want. So yeah, pretty excited by it. Yes, it was a bit left field, but the more I've thought about it, the more I thought, well, yeah, lack of experience, great. I don't really take that into consideration. What I do take into consideration is his background and how he wants to play the game. And I think that's more important than anything else.
Yeah, well, I remember I went to Edgbaston, the first game after the World Cup debacle, when we scored, 400, and we played against New Zealand. And with him, I think we'll have an attacking mindset. I don't think that means we want to score 4, 5 and over. I think it'll be positive intent. You know, when we're batting, you know, you don't have to just be. You can be positive. You don't have to be hitting 4s and 6s. It's your intent when you're at the crease, and I think we do need that. We could have gone down the Gary Kirsten route, easy, couldn't we, Ian? You know, he was probably one of the favourites for the Test team, and then McCullum would have took over the white ball team. But I think this is a real positive step, and you think we're only a couple of weeks away from the New Zealand, the first Test. We're going into this, and I think we're excited about the new era. We've got the captain, we got the new coach, you got Rob Key. Obviously, now they've still not got that chief selector. I listened to his Rob Key. There was an interview on Sky Sports with Nasser. I think he's going to probably take that role for now until they find that person, because he said at the minute he doesn't know who that's going to be. So, yeah. What do you think, Ian?
Yeah, I mean, there are ones. I mean, it's almost like they've had a bit of a clear out, and they've still got some places to fill, and that is going to be interesting. I think we've spoken on previous shows about the importance of selection and trying to take a little bit of that away from the coach and the captain. Listen, he's going to play. You're absolutely right. He's not going to be playing 2020 cricket in Test matches. Do you know what I mean? It's not going to be that sort of level of positivity, if you will. But you're right. You can play a forward defence. You can play a leave with a bit of intent and a bit of positivity. You know, we see these elaborate leaves and stuff. I know that's probably an extreme example, but you know, we look tentative. We've spoken about this before. We're fishing for the ball. We're not getting into line. You know, we're nicking off. I think it will having somebody like McCullum come in. It will just perk everybody up. They will want. It's a bit like new manager syndrome, isn't it? People will be wanting to impress, and they'll be right. You know, it's been absolutely dreadful, but now we've got a clean slate, and I'm sure that's the case. It'll be interesting to see what some of the selections are. Will they go with the same old? I mean, I know we're going to talk about our squads later.
We're coming to that. Just while you touch on selection, Tim Wilton Davis in the chat says, who will debut for England this year? Josh Bohannon, Lancashire. Brooke, obviously for Yorkshire. I think we're going to talk about him because he's been on fire. Potts, Jamie Overton. Matt Parkinson, we have spoken about him to death on this show. If he isn't in that squad, if he isn't in the 11 for the first test, he's been on fire. He got some wickets in the last game. If you're in the chat, Brandon, Chris Wokes, I don't think he'll be in the first test. I think he's injured, isn't he, Rob? Chris Wokes?
He's injured, mate. He's out. Yeah. That's probably why Brandon's gone to Croatia.
I bet he's crying into his beer right now.
But we haven't got your. We had a show me and Ian done when everyone else was unavailable. Me and Ian, and we do keep the talking cricket fires burning. We haven't got your thoughts on Ben Stokes, Neil and Rob. We'll come to you first, Rob. What do you think? Was it an obvious appointment?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. It was that he'd already said, hadn't he? A couple of months ago, he said, "I'm not going to do it," in a kind of way to back Root at the time. There's no one else. I think you look left field and go, let's bring in, I don't know, James Vince or someone like, to captain it left field.
He was a fan of Vince.
But he was the only one it could be. The only other one was Broad, I think. But then you'd have to pick him every game, and he probably only did it for a year or so. So it was an absolute shoo-in, really. And he's made a lot. I've been impressed with some of the stuff he's come out with in the last couple of weeks. Sort of saying, I'm picking the best team. I'm picking Jimmy. I'm picking Brody, etc. So Root back to 4, back in that. Let's just see if he can maybe tease Cookie out of retirement and open the batting. But he's good noises so far. I look forward, like I said, to those two working together. I think they're two really passionate, soulful individuals who'll bring a lot together to the party. So, yeah, very positive.
Are you of the same thinking, Neil, along those lines about Stokes?
I'm actually more confident now McCullum has been given the coach's job, in all honesty. I'd mentioned previously when we had discussions after the Ashes, my concerns with Stokes were purely from a performance point of view. I know he has raised himself that he's different to Andrew Flintoff and to Ian Botham in terms of the captaincy affecting their performances. That's all well and good. And to say that, you don't know what's around the corner and you don't know how the captaincy is going to affect your performances. I know he's a confident guy. I fully appreciate that. And I do agree he was ultimately the only real choice of note. I just hope and pray it doesn't affect his performances for both the team's sake and for his own sake, because if it does, and within 2 or 3 tests, mentally it really gets to him, which I hope it doesn't. I'm not saying I hope it does. Then we're back in probably an even deeper hole. So I just hope and pray it doesn't affect his performances.
Well, I did say to you, Ian, didn't I, in the last show, I think that's too easy a stick to sort of beat him with when you say about Botham, Flintoff, even Kevin Peterson. I'm going to come to you about Kevin Peterson a little bit later on, Ian, for some Peterson chat right at the end of the show. But I think that's too easy just to say, listen, they were the great players. They never done it as captain. I think we should all wait and see what he does. I think I've looked at some of his sort of bowling. I think he's going to take a step back. He's obviously going to go back to 6 in the order. I don't think that he will bowl so much. It all depends how we're getting on, but I think he might take a little bit of a step back because, look, he's got a dodgy knee. That was strapped up in the West Indies, wasn't it? We see that. So he needs to be careful, I think.
Yeah, I think it's captains can tend to underuse themselves. Possibly not Joe Root, but you know what I mean. Generally speaking, and certainly bowling wise, I know his focus will be on the bowlers, and like you say, bringing back Broad and Anderson. I think he was poorly used. I think we've discussed that in the past, particularly given that there were injuries about. It was a bit of a risk. I mean, it's going to be interesting. I mean, I'm not too sure about this. I know he was bowling in the county game and he went round the park slightly, and I think he was trying to bang the ball in short again. So whether or not that's a practice for this enforcer role, I hope it is not. And if you're listening, Ben Stokes, don't do that. But he's probably going to get a chuck. But I like the idea of him batting at 6. I think we're often too keen to, somebody gets some runs in the lower middle order and suddenly, oh yeah, get them in at 4. And I think that's a mistake. I think if somebody's making runs down there, let them do that. Let them make runs down there. If it's not broke, don't fix it, kind of thing. And it's only really when they say that, oh, we've got to get them up the order. It's only because some of the lads up the order aren't actually performing. So it's kind of you're not fixing the right problem. It's exciting. I mean, he's going to be one of the change bowlers, but it'd be interesting to see how many overs he does bowl.
He'll be fourth seamer for me, Neil. I think we'll come to our squads in a minute. I think someone did say in the chat they're going to name 17 for the first test. I've got 13 down, but I see Stokes as your fourth seamer, and hopefully he doesn't have to bowl. It all depends how we're going, doesn't it? Really, how many overs I think that he bowls. Yeah,
I mean, looking at my 13, I've got chose. I think that's probably the role I would have him in as well, by the looks of it. Going back to what we were talking about with injuries, we need to nurse people like Stokes through. If he has still got that niggle in his knee, then do the right thing. Reduce his workload. Obviously, if Broad and Anderson do come back in, for example, you would imagine they're going to do the majority of the workload with one other seamer, whether that's Mahmood or Robinson or somebody like that. So reduce his workload. Get a spinner that can bowl long overs and be penetrating at the same time. Nobody springs to mind, Ian, by the way. But yeah, as I say, I think they'll make the right choices. I think you're right. Stokes and McCullum will work well together, and I think they'll come up with a plan that will utilise Stokes to the best to keep him performing for longer.
Right. So we'll now come to naming our 13. Hope you've all got 13. You got 13, Robin, your squad?
Yeah.
We can add more. We can add more. There's plenty of names to. We'll start with the openers. So last test in the West Indies was Lees and Zach Crawley. Who have we all got opening at Lords on the 2nd of June? Start with you, Rob.
Crawley and Lees. On the basis that we can't get Cookie back, we'll go with Crawley and Lees.
So I've looked at
both were in position and both have started the season relatively well.
Crawley, I'd say I don't agree. I think he's got 50. He's got 150, and I think that was it. I think his next top score, I think, was this game just gone by. I think 35. Although obviously now we've got Rob Key in. He's a big Zach Crawley fan. If you listen to him on Sky, but I was speaking to, I think it was Simon on WhatsApp earlier. Simon Harris. He was in the chat earlier. He's a Kemp fan, and he said he's been nicking off regular. And I did say in the Caribbean, I think. I don't see him as an opener, Rob. I see him probably as a middle order batsman, Zach Crawley, at the minute. I think he's too loose. He's chasing that wide ball outside off stump. He keeps nicking off. I think he needs to rein himself in. But it would be interesting. I think I've got Alex Lees. He's one of my openers. What about you, Neil? Who's your two openers?
I've copped out a little bit of this. I've got Lees. And then I would choose Compton. If we're going to pick on form, I'd choose Compton. However, they will choose Crawley. So take that as you will. I would go for Compton. I agree with your stance on Crawley. I think he's had a little bit of an iffy start to the season. So I would pick on form.
Take that hat back off. Have a look at that hair. Look at this.
So much.
There's no products in there tonight.
No, mate.
That's for certain.
I've got some spare, Neil. Rich, I was going to say completely the same as Neil. I put Crawley because that's who it's going to be, but I put Libby from Worcester.
Yeah, I know. Oh, well, you're a Worcester fan, so yeah. But Brandon is a big fan. I think on one of the first pods he said about him. What about yourself, Ian? Have you got Alex Lees in? Is he one of your?
Yeah, I think in terms of continuity, you can't just sort of stick him in and then say, all right, well, we're going to look at somebody else now. I think there are two aspects to this, and I think the lads there have referred to it. it's, one of them is what are they likely to do, and then the other one is what would be a bit not left field, but what would I do? I could see what they're probably going to do. However, I'd go with Lees and Jennings.
Oh, have you been reading my mind?
Sorry,
Have you been reading my mind? Because I've got Keaton Jennings in mind.
He bats long.
He's averaging 174 this season. I know he's only played 2 games. He got 230 against Neil's Yorkshire, didn't he, in the last game just gone. We've got Dom Sibley. He's got to be in the running. Talking of hair, magnificent hair. Rory Burns, Surrey going well. It's a thumbs down.
Yeah. Hamid?
Yeah, I've got Burns. I've got Burns, Crawley, Robinson, and Wood all omitted. I know that's a bit odd, but
so I think we've all said Alex Lees, and we've got two votes for Jennings on here, and 2 votes for Crawley. It wouldn't surprise me if Rob Key probably picks half of Kent, and he might go with Compton and Crawley at the top of the order.
Rich is Key chief selector?
Well, like I was saying, I watched the interview on Sky Sports. I'll put it on our group after we finished. He was saying that at the minute they haven't obviously filled that role, so I think he will sit in on that, and he'll probably have a say. But it's got to be down to the captain, and I would have thought. But Brendon McCullum, look, he's fresh coming in. How on the ball is he with county cricket? Because he's been sort of parachuted straight in, hasn't he, Rob? And
yeah, it's a good point. I think I just want to touch on something I wrote down. Is that I think county cricket's been brilliant this summer. I think it started really strong. The pitches have been great. There's been loads of runs, good wicket. Lots of like today. I know a bit of rain, so there's a lot of draws, but good draws.
Yeah,
there's been a lot of 8 down, 9 down draws, and teams bowling teams out in the last session. There's been lots of hundreds. Spin, who spinning it, lots of just been really, really good, and it's been a good advert for county cricket. And I think certainly seeing it on social media and stuff, I think a lot of people got behind it, and some clubs have been doing some really good initiatives, getting the kids in and stuff. And most clubs let people in after tea for free. So yeah, hopefully, the county championship has really sort of stood up and done a real good job. So that's sort of given us 20 odd names to pick from, hasn't it? Rather than it just being whoever played the last game. So well done, the county champ.
Right. We'll pause our squad. That nicely segues into Kevin Peterson's comments today. And I want to come to you, Ian, because you put a tweet out this morning. Tell us what Peterson, he keeps going on about the franchise, doesn't he? I see tonight, there's a journalist, I can't remember his name on Twitter. He's got quite personal with that.
Excuse me,
with the lady who I can't remember.
Annie Che, yeah.
She's
the County Cricket Matters editor.
Yeah,
a big advocate of the county championship. Very positive about it. Rob's spoken very well there about it. I think it's been great. There's been, big totals and it's almost emulating what we want to see from the Test side. Racking up a big total and making people bat twice. I think it's been really, really good. The wickets have been good. That's what we wanted. It's been pretty dry. But he's basically, Kevin Peterson has made, and advise people to have a quick look at it. He's made a personal attack on this individual, basically making her out to be stupid because she's an advocate of the county championship, and that is her preference. That's absolutely fine. And he's entitled to his opinions about the county championship, but he's made it into a personal attack. He keeps banging on about the franchise, and it did annoy me this morning. I was getting all the cricket gear ready or whatever, but how is this going to work? How is just saying the word franchise doesn't make it magically happen? A lot of the best players that he keeps talking about that we bring in on a franchise are all playing in the IPL. Yep. They are not going to pack in playing IPL cricket for a county cricket franchise. Now, the IPL seems to go on forever, and I believe they're going to extend the number of teams. It might be sort of a 12-month competition.
Do any of you three watch it? Because there's too many games. It's
boring. The same.
It's if you look at it, I heard this and I stand by it, and it isn't every game, but literally every time the team bats first gets 165, give or take one or two, and then the other team might chase it, might not. Rarely a tight finish. Crash bang wallet. The thing that drives me mad is all the the sponsored six, the sponsored timeouts, and all that rubbish. It drives me mad. So I very rarely watch it. If there's nothing on the tally and I put Sky Sports on, other channels are available, then I'll watch it for a bit. But I tend to look out for the English lads or someone exciting. But no, it's very samey, very dull. Not interested. So yeah, that's my thoughts anyway.
I mean, I'm not too sure what I think what Kevin Peterson doesn't understand, and we've talked about the history of the game and 18 counties and this and that. He doesn't understand the role that counties play within communities, within the player pathways, in sort of, and it's not absolutely perfect, and it differs from county to county, and there are funding elements to that as well. Another reason why the ECB needs to get its finger out. And there are also issues of background and diversity and so on and so forth. But the counties are that conduit from the playground to test arena. That they're going to make that happen. They invest lots of money in coaching. My lad's involved with Lancashire, and they're doing some absolutely wonderful work in the communities and girls cricket and disabilities cricket. It's absolutely fantastic. A franchise county team or whatever it isn't going to do that. It's going to buy in players, and where are they going to come from with the IPL still happening? I mean, at the moment, you've got all the England, mostly. I know that they've been rested once or twice. I don't know why. Maybe they've got specific training programs or whatever. But a lot of the English players, England players are playing at the moment. A lot of ex-England players, like we mentioned, Cook and people like that, they're playing at the moment. I'm not too sure how it could be made better. I really don't. And where are your future England players going to come through if they're not youngsters like Harry Brook or whoever it might be, coming through in county cricket? The franchise alternative, it just isn't an alternative for me, because I don't know what it's trying to prove. And if the franchise thing comes in, sorry, I'm talking a bit too much here, but if the franchise thing comes in and we don't win the Ashes every time, what then? What's his idea then? It's putting all your eggs in one basket, and it's not necessarily a particularly good basket, in my view.
Doesn't he forget, Neil, Kevin Peterson, where he came from? He came through county cricket, and I just think he's very short-sighted. He just makes a lot of noise. Obviously, look, he's got a lot of supporters. Great player. Don't get me wrong. We all love Kevin Peterson as a batsman. As a person, no, not for me.
I mean, you say that, but ultimately, Peterson has been throughout his club career the ultimate mercenary. Yeah. Just jump ship for more money whenever he's had the opportunity, or where he thinks the club's going to have a better opportunity. So, what are we expecting here? He's just reverting to type. And something dawned on me reading Annie's tweet this morning and reading Peterson's response or initial tweet, and him calling her boring. Well, there's nothing more boring than one person droning on about the same old thing over and over again in any walk of life. So for him to be calling somebody else boring is actually becoming a little bit boring in itself now. Totally agree with everything Ian said. I have nothing more to add from a technical standpoint. And the only thing I will add to Ian's thing is to back him up on what he says, is that Peterson adds no substance to his idea whatsoever. And when anybody asks where the next players are coming from, all he says is a level in between or underneath the franchise. Right, well, expand upon that. Well, he can't, because it's some pie-in-the-sky idea that he just throws franchising out that it's going to be the be-all and end-all. Well, we all know it's not. And if you can't add any substance, Or it goes on about all these players are asking him for it to happen. Who are they? Come on then. Put your hands up, guys. Be brave. Well, clearly they're not going to. So that just annoys the hell out of me.
Anyway, Kevin Peterson chat, that's done. Let's go back to our team. Who do we all see batting at number 3? Because obviously Joe Root's nailed on. He's going back to number 4. So I'll tell you who, because Stokes is at 6. So we've got Phil at number 5. And you've got Phil at number 3. So I'll tell you who my number 5 is. Harry Brook, nailed on. Neil will tell us all about him in a minute. So that leaves Johnny Bairstow. He's shunted around up and down the order. Now, one of two things for me will happen. Either Johnny Bairstow will get the gloves back, which I don't think he should, because I think Ben Folkes deserves a run. So in my squad, or my 11, because Johnny Bairstow will be playing in the first test, he bats at number 3. What do you reckon, Neil?
You put me on a bit of a predicament now, because I've just realised I've got 2 people I want to bat at 3.
Who you got?
Well, Bairstow and Milan. So, yeah, it's a tricky one, because Milan, I've been watching a lot of Yorkshire on the live streams, and Milan is playing superbly, caressing the ball to all parts. Listened to a bit of the commentary the other day, and they were saying how Brook was being really ultra destructive in one of the couple of partnerships they've had together. But Milan was just stroking it through the covers, stroking it backward at point, all timing. But after the winter and how we said Bairstow stood up and was countered, I don't know. Maybe he still deserves his chance,
doesn't it? Because Milan, I've said on here before, I don't think I'd pick him again because he's not the future. But I'm going to go back on that, because now we need to. I said it on the last pod with you, Ian. We need to look at the here and now. We too often we look 2 or 3 series ahead. Normally to Australia, they're coming here next summer. Forget about them. Let's pick the best team we've got available. And there's a lot of players who could put their hand up and say, right, I've had a decent start to the season. I should be in this first test team at Lords. And I think that's a really good place to be in. I know we've not done really well in the last 17 tests. We've won 1. But I think going into this, there's plenty of batsmen, like you said out there, Rob, county cricket, they're scoring lots of runs. And there's lots of batsmen could say, right, I want to get picked. So I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you about Milan. It just, we get back to this issue with Johnny Bairstow with the gloves, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, I've got to say, I've got Folkes in as well. And Bairstow's my outlier. I don't know where he fits in. This is my major problem.
What do you reckon, Rob?
Number 3.
Yeah,
I've changed my mind in the last 5 minutes. I like Bahanan a lot. We've talked about him before, but Milan's numbers stack up. He's got 220 more runs than Bahanan at the higher average. So, yeah, for me, it's I love Bahanan in the squad, but he's just been nudged out based on our chats. So Milan for me. Bairstow, I'm not a massive fan. He doesn't make my side. He certainly doesn't bat 3 for me. He's too loose, gets bowled too much, and he couldn't lace Folkes' boots when it comes to keeping.
So not in your 11 for Lords?
No. The only other thing with the keeper is there's that, we've got a new coach and the way it looks like we're going to play our cricket. There is a guy who's playing the IPL who's English, who's been whacking it all over the place and he's full of form. So Josh Butler potentially throws his hat back in the ring with a change of scenery. So I've gone with Folkes, but there's a question mark there as well.
Right, Ian. We'll leave you with the casting vote. Who bats at 3 and who has the gloves?
I think you've got to. I know it's a sort of a new broom, but surely Folkes deserves the gloves, and he needs to have a run, and he needs to have a run here.
He's got some decent form behind him. He scored nearly 400 runs. He's averaging 98, Folkes, this season.
He's a very good chap to have coming in at number 8. And looking at my 11 here, he'll have to bat well at number 8 because it's a long tail. But listen, I've mentioned Bahanan before. He does bat long. I think he's possibly the future. I think he's got the. I think it's about temperament with him. I've liked what I've seen. I've seen a lot of him, and I like what I've seen. Honestly, it's not just the Lancashire thing. I've been really impressed with him over the last few years. I like the way he goes about his business. I think he could be a test player.
Stuart Wallace says there, Milan has played as an opener for most of his career at Middlesex. Why can he not do that for England then? You could slot him up there, or is it a different mindset though? You know, opening the batting. Look, he's normally batting for 3 for England, but we're normally 2 for 1 anyway. Is there any real difference him opening the batting, Rob, than batting 3?
No,
we've all got Lees down in our team. Why couldn't Milan be one of the openers?
Yeah. Root opened, didn't he, for a period over in Australia? He didn't do as well as he maybe could have done, but he was also playing against Australia. So, yeah, I think if you go back to kids cricket, you tend to just shove your best ones in at the start, don't you? So and get on with it. So there's an argument to do that, but I think we've got it about right. Have we decided yet?
No. Stuart Wallace says about Josh Buttler, another chance. He has clearly shown he doesn't have it a red ball. Look, I agree with him there. I think Josh should concentrate on the white ball. And if Folkes gets dropped now, Ian, I think there's no way back for him. I think you've got to show a little bit of faith in him. And look, he didn't have a great winter, but nor did a lot of players. And he's the best keeper in the country for me. He deserves to be playing at least these first 3 tests against New Zealand.
You've got to give him a go. There's got to be some consistency. You know, I think most of us argued that he needs to sort of come in. Yeah, he didn't have a great time, but I think the longer somebody's out of the side, the better they sort of become. And they're on a bit of a hiding to nothing. There are things that he did behind the timbers that were brilliant, that were really good. Yeah, he made 1 or 2 mistakes. I think keepers do, but he needs to run. Surely he needs to have a run. I think I think if you're going to change the keeper, I don't think Butler's the answer. I don't think going back to Bairstow with the gloves is the answer. I think if you're going to change the keeper now, I think you need to have a look at somebody who's a good keeper, who can bat late doors. I don't know, Philip Salt or whoever it might be. I'm not just picking.
Oh, there's another Lancashire player there, Ian.
No. Well, I realised that when I said it. But what I'm saying is that type of the calibre of that type of player. I haven't just got 11 Lancashire names.
So where are you batting Bairstow? Is he in your 11?
Bairstow, he's number 7. And if he doesn't like it, he can get off to the IPL.
So that's interesting. So you're having him.
I've got him at number 7 in front of Folkes to try and carry.
Ian, how many bowlers are you picking?
So you're having Stokes as your 3rd seamer?
No, I've got quite. Well, do you want me to read it out?
Is there a curveball?
Go pick your. Go on in. Give us your 11.
Right. So, all right. This is what I think should happen, but won't. I've got Lees and Jennings at the top of the order with Bahama at 3. I've got Root at 4. 5. I've got Nick Gubbins.
He's come on. Where's Harry Brook?
I'm surprised you put Dane Villas in there.
Very good. I've got Stokes at 6, Bairstow at 7, Folkes at 8, Mahmood, Anderson, and Parkinson.
The silence.
You've got 3 number 11s there. I know that.
Yeah, I know you like Gubbins because you said about him on the last show, didn't you?
Yeah, I think he's. I think there's a few that you could look at and you could pick. I mean, Brook, I've got in the squad. I've also got Sibley in the squad. How many were allowed to have? I think I've got about 38. No, I've got 14. I think 14 names. But I think it's not going to look like that. But that's what I think should happen, given what I've seen and the form that people are in.
Have you got Harry Brook in at 5 in your team, Rob?
Yes, I have.
Right. So we'll go to Neil, and he will tell us all about him.
I mean, the guy just looks like he's got it. I was singing his praises last year, and I don't think England handled him well over the winter at all. And I just think the way he started this year, it's like he's come back and gone, you ain't mishandling me again. I'm going to show you what I'm here about and what I'm about and how I can go about things. And he just looks to have the full package. And I think he will become a cross-format star for England. Because he's got the technique, he seems to have the mentality, he's got balance at the crease that is unbelievable, shots all around the park, bowls off the wrong foot, but not that he's going to get a bowl, but anyway. But I just think he's got it. And I think he's just come back, and I think he's clearly thought in his mind, I've got to have a good start to this season to prove those selectors wrong and get a place right from the get-go in my home country and show that I can perform right from the first test. And I think he's gone about it the right way. And you just can't, as Rob said, you can't ignore sort of the numbers. Milan's doing the same. Well, Brooks eclipsing Milan. So I think he's an absolute shoo-in. And, I've loved him ever since I started seeing him for Yorkshire. So I think his time is now.
Yeah, he's got 758 at 100. He's averaging 151. So I think he's nailed on. He has to be, surely. If you're picking on from... It's interesting. So the last test in the West Indies, we had Dan Lawrence in the team, didn't we, Rob?
Yeah.
And I don't think... Has anybody got Dan Lawrence in their squad?
Yeah, I have.
Oh, you've got him in? Because he's been injured. He's been injured. He has a hamstring injury. He's not set the county scene alight. Well, no one really has at Essex because we've had a really poor start with the bat. But I think he might be the one who misses out, Rob. You know, I know he was in the last. I think you're going to be picking the form horses at the minute. I think we really do. Yeah,
he's I think he's 98 runs at 19. 4 games, he's missed a game or 2. He didn't do a lot wrong in the West Indies. He was selfless. He can bowl that quirky off spin. He's in the squad. I think I've got 15. He's in the squad for me. Let them they'll have a week with the players, won't they, potentially, and then they might make a call on Lawrence or Brook or Bahanan or whoever, or Milan. Okay, I think he's in the mixer. Just because you've had, 4 county games and you haven't quite set it alight, he's an incumbent, isn't he? So a bit like Bairstow, I think he probably will be in the squad as well. We shall see. But bit alarming. But maybe we'll put that down to the.
It is interesting when you think we're at the bottom of the pile, Ian, but we've got so many players here who are in form in the county, scoring runs, taking wickets. I'd say we're in quite a good position heading into this first test. I know it's going to be tough against the Kiwis, but there's a lot of people, like I said a few minutes ago, who could quite easily put their hand up and say, right, I should be in this, at least in the squad. If we're picking 17, there's a lot of people out there who are going to be thinking, yeah, I'll be in that 17. I've got Ollie Pope in my squad. I know a lot of you probably say he's had his chance, but I think he'll go back to county cricket and we know what he can do. And I think it's just someone needs to get hold of him because he reminds me of Ian Bell. Now, he was a bit of a slow burn when he first came in the squad, wasn't he? When he started in.
Yeah, he is sort of reminiscent in physically and the way that he plays actually as well of Bell. There are lots of talented cricketers out there. It's whether or not they can make the transition from county to test arena. I think mentioning Dan Lawrence's stats there, is it going to be, we know what he can do. Are we too worried about his stats? I mean, you obviously want people in form that are confident and going in and proving themselves. But Darren Lawrence has been in there. he was in there in the last games. So it's like Broad, bowling in Division 2. He's got 500 Test wickets. He doesn't have to prove himself there. And I think that the likes of Key and the new captain and McCullum, they're going to know what Test players look like. It's not just a numbers game. Obviously we have picked people in the past for the Test side who've got interesting technique, shall we say, something away from the classical, whether it's Sibley or whoever, or Burns and things like that. And, they're going to get found out. But, there are players whose numbers aren't particularly good, who might even be in Division 2, who they could well be the next fantastic Test player. So it's really tough. It's not just about numbers, but, I think county cricket's in a pretty good place. It's been absolutely, it's been blamed. It's been blamed for England losing the Ashes, etc. And that's just ridiculous. Yeah, I think there's going to be some tweaks to the county game, but there's lots of players in there who are going to be knocking on the door. New captain, we're not quite sure of how the selection is going to work. If they are going to bring in a chairperson of selectors, by the way, they need to do that very quickly because they've got a couple of weeks. So it's going to be tough. But it's fantastic, this sort of little period of transition. It could be the making of the Test side. Let's hope it is.
Yeah, look, I'm a big Dan Lawrence fan, but if I'm looking at the minute, Neil, and I've got Dan Lawrence in this hand and I've got Harry Brook in this hand, I know where I'm going. Sometimes you've got to say, right, he is on fire at the minute. I think the first inning score against Lancashire, what was it? Did he get out 30 odd he got? That was his lowest score he's had this summer. Parkinson cleaned him up. We'll talk about him in a minute, Ian. But I think Harry Brook, pick the form horse. I'll be picking the form horse there. I'd say you are starting in that first Test, the 2nd of June at Lord's.
Yeah, ultimately, if we were talking about the England football team, we scream all day long about picking people who are on form. Ultimately, why is cricket any different? If you've got confidence flowing through you, that can only be a good thing. And especially if you've already had a little taste of the Test environment, like Harry Brook has. It's not as if he's going to come in and be like a rabbit in the headlights. He's already had that experience of that environment. And if he's in the form of his life at the moment, use it. Let's use that to our advantage for once. Let's not just stifle it.
Yeah, because look, he's going to have Joe Root there with him in the middle order. I think he's probably going to have Johnny Bairstow. But then Johnny Bairstow's not played any red ball cricket, has he? He's setting it alight. I think he got 60 odd yesterday, didn't he, Rob, in the IPL? He was whacking sixes everywhere. But
yeah,
does that really matter going into a first Test red ball?
Not really. He hasn't played that much. I think that was his only real notable knock. I don't follow it too much, but what he did do is set a little platform. Someone we have not mentioned at all, although we talked about a lot in the winter, was Livingston, who has been doing some good bits over there. We haven't mentioned him at all. I would have had him in a month ago. I still like him doing some sort of job at 6 or 7, but he hasn't made this squad because he's not playing. But I don't think we need him at the moment.
We can't pick 12.
No.
It'd be great if we could pick 12, wouldn't it, at the minute, I think. I did have him in my squad for Australia, Rob. I did say about Lee and Livingston.
Yeah, I did. And I had him in West Indies squad. And I, as I said a month ago, I'd have picked him for this. But, you got the likes of, everyone we've mentioned, all the guys who've turned up with their runs as well as the incumbents. You've got plenty, haven't you? So it's a good problem.
So I think we're all going to pick Ben Folkes with the gloves, yeah? So he's at 7. Who are we batting at number? Who's your number 8? Your number 8 is Ben Folkes, Ian.
It is, yeah, and I've got Bairstow at 7, but I do have Brook in my squad, and that now influenced perhaps by the chat. Maybe Johnny's going to be carrying drinks, and you've convinced me. I'll get the young lad in at 7.
Oh, he's playing at 7.
Well, they've got. It doesn't matter where they bat, does it? You know, I mean, if he comes in at 7 and gets 70 or 80, I'll be quite happy with that.
So who have you got? Who's batting at 8 for you, Neil? Who's your third seamer? If that is who you've got at 8.
I've got Ollie Robinson at 8.
Is he fit? Because he bowled 1 over in the first innings of the game just gone. He did bowl in the second innings. I see he had about 15 to 20 overs. Look, if he is fit, he is nailed on to be in my 11. I just don't know what his fitness is at the minute.
If he's fit, I've done it on that exact basis. If he's fit, I would have Ollie Robinson in there. Purely, not really what's gone on over the winter, but how he impressed in English conditions at the end of last season. So he would be in there. If he wasn't fit, I'm going to be honest, I haven't really picked anybody else if he wasn't fit. I haven't really come across that scenario, if I'm being honest with you. So, don't know. Maybe if he wasn't fit, then maybe I would throw... Would I throw Bairstow in there and try and rely more on Stokes? That goes back on what we discussed previously.
Would we not, I'll say it very quickly, would not pick Chris Wokes at home to do that job? He's done it for years.
He's as well, isn't he?
He's injured, yeah. But
if he was fit, Rob, I think he would probably be in the team. I've got one of the jug avoidance lads from Surrey in at 8 for me. I've got Sam Curran at 8.
It's a good shout, to be fair. It's a good shout. I mean, he's never ultimately done very much wrong for England. And I think he's generally been in and out, much like Bairstow, and juggled around. It's a fair shout. I'll give you that.
He's one of them characters, Neil. I think he's one of them characters who Stokes and McCullum will like.
Yeah, No, I'd agree.
He's got something about him.
Yeah, no, I'd agree, and I wouldn't be averse if Robinson wasn't fit to Sam Curran being that person in that role.
Yeah, like obviously left arm, different angle. Look, Robinson would get in ahead of him because Sam Curran, obviously a better batsman. But if the top 7, for me, can't get the runs, we shouldn't keep relying on down the order. Because look, I think we've all got Parkinson in there in our teams. I've got him in. I've got Jimmy in. I've got Broad in. I'm picking 3. It's a bit harsh to say Stuart Broad's a number 11, but he probably is. Looking at him now, isn't he, really? But if the top 7 can't get the runs, that's where we've got, like you said, Ian, about county cricket, and you said, Rob, they're piling up big scores. This is what we need to do, and we need to do it on a regular basis. We need to be getting, probably in England, if you get 400 in England, you're in the game. Can we all agree on that, probably, on the wickets we're going to be playing on? Speak, someone.
Yes, Richard, you're right.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's the batting. I think the batting's been part of mostly the problem, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And I've gone sort of bat heavy with that squad. Is
that why you're picking one batsman extra in because you're a bit worried about the batting?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I've stacked the batting, which is a bit of an old-fashioned phrase. I understand that, but
Tim Wilton Davis. If he's got the chat up, he's going some great stats. He had the top bowlers up. He's just put the most first-class runs up. Masuda Derby, he's up for 1,000 next game.
There's been some good comments in the chat tonight. Actually, I must say.
Just what I was going to say, Richard, we banged on about form a lot, haven't we? And we said pick on form. But no one's mentioned that the lad Potts at Durham, who's way clear of top of the wickets.
Yeah, I think Tim put it in there. He's got
34 in the chat, isn't there? Yeah.
Does that matter though that he's playing in Division 2?
Not really. When he's bowling at like a classy Worcester, outfit, then it's as good as Division 1.
There's a lot of bias. There's a lot of bias in this room tonight.
I think the difficulty is that with this sort of Division 1, Division 2 thing, and then obviously the COVID year it was in 3/6s. It's very different, isn't it, with cricket, because there's not like a transfer market, and you've got Premier League players and League One players and things like that. So I think there are players in Division 2 who could clearly cut it in Division 1. And likewise, I think there are players in Division 2 who could play for the Test side. So it's not as clear cut as that. Well, he's in Division 2, so he mustn't be good enough. So I think there's a bit more nuance than he's in 2, so he's not good enough. Yeah, Potts is a good shout. There's plenty of mention of him in the chat there. Some good stats as well, as you say. What do we think, Potts? Do we give him a go? Because I think there's a lot of bowlers in front of him. That's the only issue.
Yeah, you got, obviously, we haven't even spoke about Mahmood, Overton.
I've got one for you. Jofra Archer. Get him in the squad. Get him around the boys. You know, he's pretty close, I think. But, you know, I know we haven't seen him for a year or so. But he's an unbelievable bowler.
What about Sam Cook at Essex, Rob?
Not anymore, not for me. Way down the pecking order.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. Have we all got Matt Parkinson in our, not in our squad, in our 11?
I've left him out. I've left him out.
You're a blatant liar.
No, I haven't.
So we've all got him as our spinner. Jack Leach, do you think Jack Leach will be in the squad if they're picking 17?
Yeah, probably.
He'll be in the 17. He's not in my 17.
The only other person I'd pick in the squad, just nothing to do with playing, but I'd maybe pick Adil Rashid. Just get him in there with him, get him working with him, potentially just bowling together, talking a little bit about leg spin. Yeah, can't wait to see. I just hope they do. I mean, that I think for us four and all the listeners and stuff, it would be a real big deal to get him in, because it's that art of leg spin, and we haven't seen it for a very long time, have we? You know, Adil played a few tests and stuff, but we haven't seen it in England for God knows how long. And obviously with Shane Warne and everything, it'd be great if he could really have a great summer. It'd be awesome, wouldn't it? So fingers crossed they agree with us.
But we need to pick him, I think, and we need to stick with him, Ian. He needs to pick him for the whole summer. Unless he goes off form, you know, or we play on some wickets that we're not going to need a spinner, which I'd have thought we need a spinner. You need that different approach. Say, right, you are playing against New Zealand 3 tests, you're playing the India test, and you're playing against South Africa. Then you go to Pakistan, he's going to be nailed on to play there. That is going to be 10, 12 test matches, you know, get his feet under the table. Let's see what he can do.
He's waited long enough, hasn't he? You know, he's served his apprenticeship with the drinks. You know, and if he doesn't get in the England side, well, you know, maybe get a job in a bar. But we have banged on about him because it is exciting. You know, yeah, it's great to see a containing off spinner, and I understand what part that plays in the game, and I know that Leach did get some wickets, didn't he? And he's had he's had 1 or 2 wickets in the county championship. We know what he can do, but we need a match winner. We need somebody who can bowl that magic ball, that can have that little bit of mystery. And for me, you know, it's Parky. I just hope he doesn't go around the park in the first test and we don't see him again. So, you know, it's a bit of a risk.
It will be interesting to see our New Zealand approach when he comes onto bowl, if he's playing in that first test at Lords. He's got to play. If you're going to pick a spinner, it's got to be Parkinson, surely. You know, I mean, he's been bowling pretty well. He's been bowling okay, but he's been bowling all right. Lanks were a bit lucky to get a draw against Kent, but Lanks have been posting some scores. And that's allowed him perhaps a little bit more scope to give it a rip, but we'll see. But we need the England batsmen to do. Stuart Wallace says Parky is an ordinary spinner, nothing special, Ian. Well, you know, if Stuart, who do you think is better? There you go. Great question.
Maybe he means Callum Parkinson.
I might do, yeah.
It's interesting, like we were saying about Parkinson. If Brendon McCullum had been playing for New Zealand, and he was playing in this Test match coming up at Lords, and he was batting when Parkinson come on, we know what he would have tried to do. He'd have tried to smash him out of the attack.
And what
Australia would do the same, Rob.
Yeah, and what Stokes needs to do is back him and just keep chucking the ball, because he'll run past one.
Yeah.
He'll hit one in the air. You know, if someone's coming at you, that's good, because they're taking a risk. We'll take the wicket. We need to take 20 wickets to win a game of Test cricket, and he might do bits and bobs in the first innings, and it will be on him in the second innings. But he looks good enough to bowl containing leg spin as well, which is really hard. You know, off spinners, boring on a tea towel, boring. But he's got the variety. He looks like, if you look at his numbers as well, his economy is good as well. He's not going around the park. So yeah,
his time has come. I think
Absolutely.
we can all agree that we know what Jack Leach brings to the party, and he'll probably play in Pakistan. They'll probably play 3 spinners out there, and I thought Jack Leach should probably be there. But this summer, it should be all about Matt Parkinson and seeing if he's got it. You know, we all talked him up on here. Ian's talked him up till the cows come home. Let's see. Put him in the team, and let's see how he gets on. Have we both got Jimmy and Broad in our start? We all have them in our squads. Are they both starting at Lords? Because they are for me.
Yeah.
I think they have to, don't they, Neil?
Yeah, I mean, all the Ferrari over the winter. Both seem to have set off reasonably well with their counties. We know what they bring to the table. Yes, neither of them are going to set the world on fire in the lower order with the bat. Broad is the one big disappointment for me, how his batting's ended up, but they're not there for that. Let's face it. So I genuinely think both of them get straight back in, do the job that they're there to do, and let them finish their careers in the manner that I think both of them want to finish their careers, and that they deserve to finish their careers on a high.
Stuart's come back. Have you seen his comment there in the chat? He says, it's not a case of who is better. We don't have any special spinners. Many years ago, when South Africa toured India, they took the decision that they didn't have any great spinners, so they didn't take any, and they won.
I mean, it's a fair point that Stuart makes. I mean, if you look at the great West Indian sides, they didn't have a great deal of spinners, or they did have Roger Harper for a time. And yeah, listen, it's a fair point, but I think you need a spinner in any, whether it's a county team or a club team or what. I think you need a spin bowler, and I think some of the county games have shown that's the case. I've not got the greatest faith in all of our seamers. It's not as if we've got the best seam attack in the world. Australia have probably got the best seam attack in the world, and yet they still play Nathan Lyon because he's got a role to play. And they've also got some others who can toss the ball up, like Labuschagne and what have you. It's a fair point. I don't think we're awash with quality spinners, which only strengthens my, wanting Parkinson in the side, because he sticks out like a sore thumb in many ways. But yeah, I'd agree with Stuart. I don't think that we've got loads of great spinners like we used to have. Maybe in the 80s, there was probably. All counties had one, and they had some. There was some really good spinners, and it was tough to get in the side. Sometimes England would play with 2 spinners, whether it's Embury and Edmonds or whoever it might be. Fair point.
Can he go at 2 and over, like first inning? Say we lose the toss, New Zealand bat. There's not going to be a lot in the wicket. Can he go at 2 and over? You toss the ball to him. He bowls 20 overs for sort of 40, 50 runs on that first day. Can he do that?
If he gets 4 wickets, I don't care if he goes for 4 and over. But it's a fair question. Time will tell, because he is untested at this level because he's been carrying a tray. He's not been getting a go. So it's. I think there's so much pressure on him now. That I think he'll be okay with it, because he is quite a confident lad. I just hope he does go well. He'll have to now, or else I'm going to look like an absolute clown, a bigger clown than I normally do. So,
what other bowlers have we got? Anyone else got any other bowlers in this squad? I've got Mahmood obviously in.
I've got Mahmood in the squad.
He's got to be in the running because he had a decent showing, didn't he, in the Windies? Craig Overton, Rob?
No, rubbish.
No. Discarding him.
Yeah, it's a resolute.
We need to move on. We just need to move on from the Paul Collingwood era.
What about is Matt Fisher injured, Neil? I think he's injured.
Yeah, he's got a back problem at the moment.
Yeah,
and I would love to try and push some Yorkshire seamer, but I'm afraid we've not got many good ones at the moment. As the last few days bowling to Lancashire has been proven, the seam attack at Yorkshire at the minute is pretty toothless, I'm afraid. But I've got Mahmood in as well, and nobody else other than Ollie Robertson, as we discussed, and Brendon Anderson. So. Yeah, I think Matty Potts. Listen, he's on again. I beat the drum for Harry Brook as being in form. Matty Potts is clearly in form from a seam perspective. So I would echo the case for him to potentially be involved in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I think if you're picking 17, he's probably going to come into the reckoning somewhere.
Yeah.
Quick touch on the one-day coach. Anyone got any ideas who that could be? I've got a name here. I just heard in the. Can't remember where I heard it the other day. Matthew Mott, Ian, the Australian women's coach. I think he's high on Rob Key's radar.
Well, I mean, it would be a left field selection, wouldn't it? But the McCullum selection was pretty left field, really, because I think when we were talking about it before, we were talking about bringing back, people that have either been in the job before or Kirsten. I know the Chris Welks fan club was a big fan of Ponting, and it's a fair shout. But live from Croatia, he might comment on that. But I think it's a real open one. Again, I think because of the McCullum selection, I think it could be. I think it could be somebody that we just don't, not that we've never heard of, but sort of international and left field, or it could be somebody more closer to home, a more sort of Collingwood type appointment. But
Stuart Wallace has stolen my thunder because the next coach of the England one day team is Owen Morgan, who I'd pick 100%. I know he's still playing, but he's coming towards the end, isn't he, Rob?
Player coach.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I know we've
got else.
That route before.
Else, does he? So cool. Yeah, get him in. The other one is, and I know it's unlikely, but you know what? If McCullum's knocking around, he's over in England, and there's a one-day game on. Wander down and have a word, Brendon. So I think Morgan's a shoe-in. Yeah, player coach. Why not? Doesn't do a lot else. Brilliant brain, brilliant round the boys. I think that's a shoe-in.
Neil.
I being a bit old school, I don't see why McCullum couldn't do both. But I think Morgan would be a good shout. I genuinely think he's possibly about the end of his career now. It almost feels like he's trying to take more of a back seat. So I wouldn't be averse to Owen Morgan taking that role at all. But Mr. Old School here, I think if we're paying Mr. McCullum enough, why not get him doing both? He's got the experience to do both.
Anyway, we've done an hour and 19. I know Rob didn't want it to be too long because he's got to go to bed. He needs his beauty sleep. Won't be up as early as me. But this will be available hopefully tomorrow as an audio download. I think Martin will be pressing the keys and the buttons and getting that out. Thanks for everyone who's got involved in chat. It's been great tonight. We've had some really good comments in there. And we will be back. I think I'm going to do another one in 2 weeks tonight before the first test. I think that's the 2nd of June, isn't it? The first test starts. So I think that'll be the 29th, I think it is, of May. I'm off on holiday on the Monday to the Maldives. So there you go. But thanks to everyone for tuning in. Thanks to Neil. Thank you to Rob. Thank you to Ian, as always, Vice Captain. If you're listening, Brandon, you got to up your game. You got to up your game because you're going to get the chop. Follow us on @OneTalkingCricket on Twitter. Give the show a like, give it a subscribe, and we will see you all in 2 weeks' time. Thank you very much.